Welcome back everyone to a series where I turn your ideas into brand new Pokemon. In a recent video, I turned some of the enemies you can find in Hollow Knight Silksong into Pokemon. The video did really well, you all seemed to enjoy it, so I thought I could do another one, this time with some of your suggestions. Most of the designs we will see today are from Act 1, except for a pretty common enemy in Act 2, so it shouldn't be too big of a spoiler if you haven't reached that part yet. So in the previous video, I turned two bosses into a Pokemon, those being the Moth Mother and the Scar Guard, using common enemies you can find in the area as their pre-evolution. And today we will be doing something similar. So the first design of the day is based on the fourth chorus, as requested by Mike. It's one of the earlier bosses. While it looks pretty intimidating, it's actually quite a simple fight, still very fun though. So the fourth chorus is a giant robot created by the architects. They also created a few more enemies, these being much smaller robot bugs. So, before designing the fourth chorus, I need to choose a pre-evolution. There are a few robotic enemies in the game, but the one that really stands out to me is Cogwork Choirbug. One of the reasons is that it also has four arms, just like the fourth chorus. However, what really stood out to me was its round shape. It kinda reminds me of a certain existing Pokemon. A Pokemon that is also man-made. That's right. I'm talking about Golett. Both are robots created by civilizations as servants. Something really interesting about the mechanical enemies is that when you defeat them, one of those white butterflies from the start of the game comes out of its body. So I added a butterfly symbol as its glowing core. Apparently, these butterflies are like the souls of experimented bugs in the White World, and they are inserted inside these mechanical creatures so they can imitate life. I still haven't studied the full lore of the game, but if anyone knows more about this, please leave a comment about it. I would love to read about it. Meet Philumian Golett. This ghost and steel type Pokemon was created as a servant to help maintain the Citadel's complex infrastructure. While its Unova counterpart is very slow, this one is surprisingly agile, especially considering its metal body. As for its abilities, I went with Sharpness, an ability that boosts the damage of slashing moves. It's a good counterpart to Golett's original ability, Iron Fist, which boosts the damage of fist moves. I also gave it Clutch, original Golett's other ability, and finally, for its hidden ability, I went with Heat Proof. I did this because fourth chorus can be found walking inside a pit of lava in the game without a problem, so I think it's a good ability for it, removing its fire weakness. Next, of course, we have the fourth chorus. I wasn't sure if I should also make it a regional Golurk or make it a new evolution, similar to how Yamask has a different evolution depending on what regional form it is. In the end, I decided to go with something different, although it still has similar elements to Golurk, such as the eyes, but its frame is much slimmer, as well as having four arms just like fourth chorus. I also gave it an elaborate butterfly design on its chest. Fourth chorus already has a similar design, I just altered it a bit. Meet the Cogwork Pokemon. It was invented by a past civilization, however the technology was surprisingly advanced. They created it in order to help with the heavy lifting, however it can also be used as an exceptional combatant in order to eliminate threats. For its stats, I grabbed Golurk's original stats and changed them a bit. I made it faster but with a bit of a lower attack, but still pretty decent offensive wise. So, for the next design, I actually had a request to make a regional Phantom based on the Knight, but infected by Lifeblood. But I can't seem to find the comment. Not sure if it was deleted, but I already made the design. Anyway, we'll still have some viewers who wanted me to make a Knight and Hollow Knight Fakemon, and one of them even asked for a Phantom regional based on the Knight, so at least I have some comments to show with my designs. Meet Halonestian Phantump. This regional version was infected by some strange plant-like creature. Doesn't seem to be harmful, actually it seems to help the host regenerate at incredibly fast speed. Of course, its ability had to be Regenerator. In case you didn't know, in Silksong you can actually overdose with Lifeblood, or as they call it there, Plasmium. When you do that, you're constantly regenerating a mask every 5 seconds, similar to the Hive Blood charm in the original game, but better. So I think that Regenerator is really fitting. And I wasn't too sure what to do for a hidden ability, so I went with Toxic Heal. While not as fitting as Regenerator, it's still related to passive self-healing, and in Silksong you can combine the Polyp Tool and the Plasmium Vial to inject poison into yourself, which gives you an extra mask that eventually disappears in the shape of a poison cloud. So yeah, close enough. Of course, the Knight has to evolve into the Hollow Knight itself. As I already made a regional split evolution for Golett, This time I would keep its regular evolution, Trevenant, giving it slightly Hollow Knight vibes. When designing it, I wanted to give it a hunched back look, similar to how the Hollow Knight can barely stand. Instead of the classic leaf shape, I made more elongated leaves, inspired by the weeping willow tree. The reason is to make these leaves imitate the cloak that both the Knight and the Hollow Knight have. Meet Halonestian Trevenant. The infection keeps growing with this Pokemon, to a point where some small wings sprout from its back. This Pokemon is basically indestructible. As much as you damage it, it just regenerates unless you destroy it completely, only leaving ashes. Stat wise, just like with the fourth chorus, I grabbed the original Pokemon stats and moved them around a bit. Basically, a special attacker version of Trevenant with a bit more bulk to go with its healing abilities. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video so far. I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that if you want to support the channel, you can become a member as well as getting some awesome perks. This month, you will get a downloadable wallpaper of Cyndaquil for your phone, so be sure to check out the membership plans to see what interests you if you really want to help this growing channel. The channel is still in its early stages, so any support I can get really helps. Anyway, let's get back to the video. And for the final Pokemon of the day, we have another boss, Splinter's sister, as requested by Jorge Cortez. Of course, before I start designing it, I need to know what enemy I will use as its pre-evolution. I had three choices, the Splinter, the Splinter Horn and the Splinter Bark. I didn't want to use this last one because it flies, and I just don't see much sense in making it fly just to remove that attribute later. So, between the other two, I went with the Splinter Horn. They look pretty much the same, but this one has a funnier shape to me, so why not? Meet Twiggle, the Splinter Pokemon. This grass and dark type hides in forests imitating branches to then attack its prey with its powerful claws. For its abilities, I was mostly thinking about their final evolution when choosing them, and went with Tough Claws because of how Sister Splinter attacks you. I also went with Shed Skin, but the reason isn't as apparent here. I gave them this ability because of the final design, which looks more snake-like, and it's a pretty common ability between snake Pokemon. And finally, for its hidden ability, I went with Infiltrator. It just felt right for a Pokemon who's often leaving traps and hunting. So, as I mentioned earlier, I designed Sister Splinter to look more snake-like. It already has a long body and it's normally hanging on the ceiling, but Pokemon designs don't often have the Pokemon upside down holding themselves onto something, so it's best if it's resting on the ground. Meet Thornaconda. This grass and dark type Pokemon is an incredibly dangerous predator. It will hide in trees looking like a branch, but when a prey gets close, it will silently slither to attack it with its powerful claws, to then finally wrap it with its long body and strangle them. Stat wise, I made it a physical attacker with decent speed. Nothing too crazy, but it's still an early boss, so I don't think its stats should be too high. And for the final design of the day, we have another Pokemon trainer. In the previous video, I turned Hornet into a trainer, as if she were the playable character. Well, now we need a rival. So who would be a good rival for Hornet? Of course, we all know the answer, Lace. But she isn't just a rival, she's also an admin of the evil team, Team Silk. Meet Lace, your rival in this journey. She is the daughter of the authoritarian regime of Varloom. However, she doesn't seem to see eye to eye with her mother, who wants to capture Hornet for some reason. Just like in the other video, I'm assigning a few Pokemon to her team. First, I'm thinking of adding Korok, as requested by Mike, who wanted Lace to become a trainer with this Pokemon. Next, I think that Roserade is very fitting, as you can later find her in a room full of white roses, and Roserade also has a mask, which makes me think of Phantump, Lace's sister. And finally, I went with Axelgor. This Pokemon wraps itself in silk, and Lace is made entirely out of silk, as well as being very fast, just like Lace. It also has a snail helmet, but I'll just leave it at that. So, I just added 3 to her team so that the rest of you can decide what other Pokemon would fit, so be sure to leave a comment. And that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, but before ending it, I want to give a special thanks to Redclaw87, the first member of the channel. And as we're talking about it, I remind you that you can become a member to help the channel out and get some awesome perks. But if that's not of your interest, then you can always just subscribe and leave a comment. That also helps. Anyway, see you in the next one. Bye.